Hi, I'm Andrew Clark, the Logistics Optimizer. In this clip from session 2 of the Fulfilment Forum, we talk about our final wrap-up comments around optimization, and Elton gives a really good view into the future of computing and optimization of the supply chain in general, which is not included here. So you do have to go to the Fulfilment Forum to watch that. So I give my comments on that, but I also raise the issue of product dimensions. Now, if you want to optimize your warehouse and indeed your entire supply chain, you need accurate product dimensions, and yet so many businesses just don't have accurate product dimensions. So although I don't mention it in this clip, one of the products that I represent is Optiorix. Used to be called Dimmy. They've just changed the name to Flux, but it's still kind of under Dimmy. And what that tool does is it uses the LiDAR chip on the Apple Pro devices to allow you to very quickly and accurately dimension products or pallets, right? Basically anything. It'll do things quite large. So if you've got large outsized pallets or even container-sized spaces, then it will dimension those products, and you can. It's a workflow tool to capture product master data, and for other purposes. They've really expanded the use cases for this product, so it's incredibly useful. So I highly recommend check that out on my website at Logistics Cloudco under the Optiorix tab. If you're interested in doing that, and you can do it way cheaper than you can with static dimensioners. So where you pay $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for a static dimension that doesn't move. This is on your phone and moves around with you. So check that out. But I think this is an important issue, and that's why I wanted to raise it in the context of optimization. So enjoy the clip.
Brilliant. Thanks, Elton and Andrew. Final parting comment.
I'm going to say two things. One, I suspect that no matter how good our computing gets, the real world will confound it, and we will never reach that perfect utopia of perfect tracking and control in supply chain. And two, just something that I thought about when we were talking about just that whole optimization, both in the warehouse and in the freight side of things, that. And Elton, you talked about doing the forecasting and predicting of requirements, maybe based on orders. One of the things that just at a detail level is still missing in a lot of businesses and a lot of supply chains is detailed information, dimensional information of the weights and volumes of products. And once it gets into a shipping carton, sure, but if you want to predict the volume of an order, then you need to know the dimensions of your products that are going to go into repacked into a carton, and therefore what size shipper that's going to go into, how many of those fit on a pallet. So because that data is actually missing in many businesses, because they don't collect it, and for some reason the manufacturers seem to not have it, and it just isn't there still very widely now. So a lot of that predictive stuff is a bit of a guess. Until you have dimensional data. So my sort of big thing that I think that is a real gap in business is that you've got to have data, right? If you don't have accurate data on your products, then all of the forecasting and everything kind of goes out the window because you're not building on accurate data.
Yeah, it's a good point, Andrew. I think that's something that's been a bane of supply chain for a very long time, right? And if people aren't willing to gather the data, store the data, and share the data, it makes it difficult. And the people knock-on effect down the supply chain is, I don't really want to be having to weigh your product and get the tape measure out and check the dimensions. You should be able to feed me that. Like anything, and all the topics we've talked about around optimization and profitability, if you don't have the information, right, you're sort of making it up as you go along, right? So, I guess that would be the shout out to the industry, right, is get their data clean and stored somewhere and then share it, because we're, ever since I got into the supply chain, we're all in it together from one end to the other. And if we don't work together, the experience for everyone along the way is much more difficult and less satisfying. And we can do so much more if we all just share and work more closely together. And systems certainly help that, because it's easier to pass the data on if you're just integrating system to system, versus somebody typing it in, because good old human error comes in, and then again, your optimization goes out the window because somebody put a zero in the wrong place or a decimal point or whatever.